Good morning. President Park Geun-hye is scheduled to hold talks with ruling and opposition leaders following her budget speech. The discussions to top the agenda? Passing bills. Who is the figure depicted in a 99-meter tall statue at a sacred place in China? We go to Shizhou City for a deeper look. In Australia, an 18-year-old showing symptoms of Ebola may be in the clear after initial results come back negative. And hiking in the mountains is a greatly beloved pastime for many in Korea. We get a report on mountaineering by an American living in the country on Korea Today, Monday, October 27th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Monday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Kim Min-jung and Jin Ju.
Good morning. One of the world's largest marathon events sponsored by a popular sports brand was held yesterday here in Seoul.
Huge.
Right. And this marathon event is currently taking place in 14 different cities starting from August to February of next year.
That's right. And some 30,000 people took part in this race. There were two courses, the 10-kilometer course and the 21-kilometer course. And interesting to note was that the marathoners' outfit matched the changing leaves. And look at this the particular person.
Various characters
like
out there, right?
Changing of the leaves, the foliage of the ginkgo trees. It was quite a sight, that marathon.
That's right. We're talking about 14 city tours. And you mentioned that it started in Prague and now it's going to go through all the cities. A total of 150,000 combined kilometers that are going to be run by all the participants put together, of course. So it is an exciting match to see, right? Runners actually get a chance to, or the winners, people who actually do complete the 21K, get a chance to make it to Bangkok for a second run.
Oh,
interesting. Next time I'll be training for that one, right? All right, now we move to our top story for this Monday morning. President Park Geun-hye is finally scheduled to hold long overdue talks with leaders of both the ruling and opposition parties on this Wednesday, following a speech on next year's budget. The presidential office of Cheongwade did not specify agenda items, but sources say the president is likely to stress the importance of passing next year's budget bill by the December 2nd deadline. Park is also expected to focus on the prompt passage of bills focused on revitalizing the economy and ask the National Assembly to do its best to resolve the issue of the public servants' pension reform bill within the year. This will be the president's second meeting with both party leaders since September of last year and her first with the floor leaders since July in an effort to break the political deadlock over a bill to investigate the exact cause of the Sewol-ho ferry sinking.
This weekend saw some clashes between activists who are for or against the release of anti-North Korean leaflets near Paju in Gyeonggi-do province. After their initial attempts were blocked by liberal activists and Paju residents on Saturday, later on in the day, conservative civic groups went ahead and released balloons carrying 20,000 leaflets, criticizing the North Korean regime and its leadership. The leaflets, however, stayed south of the border due to the northerly wind. Those opposed to the move say it hinders efforts to improve inter-Korean ties and raises tensions on the Korean peninsula. On Sunday, an official from Seoul's unification ministry was quoted by Yonhap News Agency as saying the South Korean government has no legal grounds to restrict the move, as it's a form of freedom of speech. He explained the police were present to prevent clashes between activists and residents and not to stop the release of the leaflets.
And Korea has ranked among the world's best in the economic sectors such as manufacturing and trade, but not so hot in the social sectors. In the annual report by the Korea International Trade Association released on Sunday, Korea ranked #1 in mobile phone exports for 2013 with the semiconductor sales and exports, second in the world. Automobile and steel production landed in 5th and 6th place, and Korea was 7th largest exporter last year with the 9th largest overall trade volume and 12th largest trade surplus. But on the downside, Korea was 41st for quality of life, with Koreans working the second most hours per year than any other country on the list. The association attributes the nation's uneven economic development to its rapid economic growth and added that to achieve more stability, these gaps would need to be narrowed.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, a group of Japanese legislators paid a courtesy visit to the presidential office of Cheongwade and met with President Park Geun-hye on Friday in an attempt to mend strained ties between the two countries. Today, we'll begin with this story on 중앙일보, and it is this top story right here. And it says 290 Japanese legislators agreed to try restoring honor to the victims of sexual slavery. And taking a look at this sub-headline, these lawmakers belong to the group, the Korea-Japan Legislators Association. And this group, together with Korean lawmakers, agreed to a joint statement regarding the issue. In particular, former Japanese Finance Minister Fukushiro Nukaga headed the 30-member delegation who met with President Park to convey Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's message that he wants to improve relations with Seoul. Now, the group held talks with their Korean counterparts over bilateral issues, and President Park also expressed hope that the Japanese government will take measures to restore the honor of the surviving women who had been sexually enslaved by the Japanese military before and during World War II. And going to other news now, here onto the side of 동아일보, and this one is regarding North Korea. And the headline says, Commander of U.S. Forces Korea believes Pyongyang is capable of miniaturizing nuclear warhead. So Army General Curtis Scaparrotti said on Friday he believes North Korea has a capability to miniaturize a nuclear warhead, which means it can build one that can be mounted on a ballistic missile. Now, he went on to say that North Korea's connection with Iran and Pakistan meant it probably had access to the expertise needed to miniaturize and mount an atomic weapon on a missile. But if we do take a look at this point, it added that this does not necessarily mean that North has the capability to mount, test, and deliver a nuclear weapon in an ICBM, which is an intercontinental ballistic missile. And now on to the economic front. First, we'll look at the Korea Economic Daily for a header that was towards the bottom of the front page on Samsung. And the article is titled, Samsung to Grow Medical Equipment Business. Taking a look at the subheadlines, it looks like Samsung Medicine, a manufacturer of medical devices, including diagnostic ultrasound systems, which became an affiliate of Samsung Electronics in 2011, will now take over Samsung Electronics' medical equipment business department. Now, this is so that Samsung can grow its pharmaceutical industry after first integrating together the various related sectors spread throughout its affiliates. And finally, we'll take a look at the Mail Business newspaper towards the bottom again. This one's on public servant pension. This article here is called Public Officials with Bigger Paycheck to Get Pension Cut. Now, as you probably know by now, the Korean government is pushing for reform in the public sector's pension system. And looking at the sub-headline, ruling Saenuri Party floor leader Kim Moo-sung, party chairman Kim Moo-sung is to make a motion for a revised reform bill on the issue at the earliest today or tomorrow, in a move to persuade public servants who are angry at the government's attempt to reform their pension plans. The ruling party is considering a new proposal focused more on cutting pension payouts for high-ranking officials with bigger salaries. Now, the suggestions are that public servant pensions should serve the function of income redistribution, similar to that of the national pension system. And that was a look at our local headlines for this Monday. Now following are the stock numbers from Friday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. We received a bit of rain on Sunday.
Yep, right around 3 o'clock, right when I was outside at Pyeonghwa Nuri-Gongwon, or a parkway in Paju.
Okay.
It started raining on us. Now, what timing, right? For a look at today's weather, so you know it's not going to happen to you, we'll now be joined by Chun Song-cho. Songcho, good morning. Tell us what it's like.
Good morning to you, Songcho.
Good morning, guys. Yes, due to the sprinkle of rain yesterday, around the central regions, temperatures have dipped to below 10 in some cities overnight. Over here in Seoul, it's 8 degrees Celsius with a bit of wind blowing, so it feels quite cold. My hands are freezing right now. And also today, we have a couple of different conditions showing up throughout the country. Some western regions are slightly affected with yellow dust blowing down from northern China since yesterday. The average hourly dust concentration recorded at 144 micrograms per cubic meter in Baekneungdo Island as of 2 a.m. this morning. So fortunately, it's not a significant amount. Along the east coast regions in Gangwon-do province, on the other hand, a dry weather advisory has been issued, so people in the mountainous areas should be extra cautious. And they'll also wake up to some frosty weather this morning due to the temperature plunge overnight. With that, let's take a close look at today's temperature readings. With plenty of sunshine warming things up during the day, the mercury level will rise, hovering around 20 in most cities. Seoul will be 17, Busan the warmest at 21, and Gangneung the chilliest at 16 degrees Celsius. Wind is adding an extra chill, so do bundle up on your way out. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Min-jung.
Now, new this morning, an 18-year-old woman in Australia has tested negative to the Ebola virus, much to the relief of her family and also the entire nation. For more on this and other global stories, we'll connect to our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Min-jung.
Now, we understand that this young woman had recently arrived in Brisbane from Guinea. What more can you tell us?
Right. She and her 11-member extended family had emigrated to Brisbane from Guinea some 12 days ago, and they are likely breathing that sigh of relief with this news this morning. The Queensland Department of Health announced just about an hour ago that initial blood tests showed the young lady in fact did not have the Ebola virus. She had been placed under isolation at the Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital on Sunday after developing a fever the day before, and though an infection was viewed as unlikely, she and her family were placed under house quarantine upon arrival per Australia's guidelines. The young woman will undergo a second test in the next few days. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, is on her way to visit all 3 West African nations hardest hit by the Ebola outbreak to raise a call for a heightened global response. The World Health Organization said on Saturday that the number of known cases has exceeded 10,000, and the number of deaths is nearing 5,000, most of those coming from Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. To Europe now for some business news. A highly anticipated stress test on the Eurozone's banks has shown that most of the continent's large banks would be able to weather a financial crisis. The European Central Bank announced on Sunday that 25 of the region's 130 biggest banks had failed the landmark stress test at the end of last year, but that most have since plugged their capital holes. It said the most problematic banks were found in Italy, Cyprus, and Greece, though they had some $12.7 billion in funds to raise. The test comes ahead of the ECB's expanded supervision of the banks due to begin next month.
Now, from European banks to Asia's financial hub in Hong Kong, protest leaders have canceled a referendum that would have addressed the movement's next steps. Now what?
Right. Well, it was called off by the same people who had organized it, citing that there remained too much disagreement over the wording and the value of the vote. This 2-day electronic vote was to have taken place Sunday night and Monday morning, but it was called off hours before by the 3 main groups represented, the Hong Kong Federation of Students, Scholarism, and the Occupy Central, with peace and love. The leaders did apologize in an email statement and explained that there just had not been enough consultation with the public. So this move that was to encourage unity instead put to light the tensions that exist. Now, Hong Kong's #2 government official, Chief Secretary Carrie Lam, had last week offered to submit a report on the public's concerns about Beijing's political reform framework. The protesters were to vote on whether they endorse this move and also whether they believe changes should apply to city elections in 2016 of the Legislative Council and also, of course, to the chief executive polls in 2017.
We'll keep our eyes on that and those developments there. Thank you, Eunice.
You bet.
And still ahead on Korea today, Korea and China mark the 22nd anniversary of their diplomatic ties, but their first cultural exchanges date back hundreds of years to 700 AD. It all started with a Korean prince who won the hearts of the Chinese people, and the rest is history. Stay tuned to find out more.
Have you ever imagined dancing to club music wearing hanbok?
No.
Well, that's what exactly happened over the weekend at a Hanbok Festival here in Seoul.
Interesting. Well, this festival was aimed at showcasing the beauty of hanbok and encouraging people to wear it more often, maybe in our day-to-day lives.
Oh.
I don't know about that, but our Seo Mi-sorang joins us for more on this story. Without hanbok, though. Yes. Good morning to you.
Good morning. As the 2014 Hanbok Day was held over this weekend at the former Seoul Station. And the two main highlights of the event were the fashion show and the dance party. At the fashion show, designers showcased their reinterpretations of the traditional hanbok so that it was more wearable in day-to-day life. For example, they took the skirt lines up and created pants for the women. At the dance party, the concept of what kind of music goes well with hanbok was turned on its head. Everyone was dancing in hanbok, but there weren't any 가야금 or pansori here. In its place, there were Latin dancing, pop, and even some EDM or electronic dance music.
The pants look quite fashionable.
I did too, but
That's what I was thinking. The skirt hemline going up, I'm not sure I like that, but pants I think we could wear instead of jeans or chinos.
I think hanbok goes well with slower moves, though. Not so
EDM and
fancy,
techno.
really. Techno music. Maybe it's just me, though.
Completely agree. Now, as we mentioned last week, the iPhone 6 here in Korea went on pre-sales last Friday, and they really sold like hotcakes. Just within the first 30 minutes, more than 80,000 people signed up. And those are quite unprecedented numbers. And with the new 단통법 resulting in domestic phones to lose their price competitiveness, some insiders are predicting that iPhone's market share here in Korea will jump fourfold from 5 to 7% right now to even up to 20% in the near future.
Well, that begs the question, will Samsung and LG Electronics, all these tech companies, will they lower the prices of their handsets?
Exactly, that will be the question, and that will be the quickest way for them to regain their customers. But right now, they seem very reluctant to do that, although, in the near future, it does seem very inevitable.
Well, that P needs to be capitalized, though.
Yeah, that is so true.
We might get a call from Apple any minute now.
I've got the proper spelling here. No, I'll just skip that one then. As we head into winter and the sunlight hours get shorter and shorter, more and more people are being affected by SAD, or the so-called seasonal affective disorder. According to a recent survey by Job Korea, up to 9 out of 10 Korean office workers experience some symptom or another, such as sadness, low energy, appetite changes, and so on. Now, the main reason for SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, is decrease in exposure to sunlight and the consequent decrease in serotonin production, which, as you know, is the happy, feel-good hormone. So to manage these SAD symptoms, doctors suggest two things. One, develop good sleep hygiene or sleep quality. And two,
go out into the sunlight for more than 30 minutes every day.
That explains so much why I've
Why
been
you've
so
been
irritable
under the
these
weather.
days.
Right. And weight gain is quite surprising. Isn't it usually weight
Where?
loss?
Weight gain, with SAD, we tend to crave carbohydrates. Because eating carbohydrates, that increases serotonin production as well. So to compensate for the decrease in sunlight exposure, our body does that.
All right. Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sorang.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next up is our sports highlights with SJ Lee, so stay tuned.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2014 KB Financial Star Championship, which is, of course, the final major event in the KLPGA. After an incredible 4 days of the event, it was 19-year-old Kim Gyo-gak came out on top once again. Now with the teen sensation battling with Park In-bi and Park Yoo-jun throughout the third and fourth round of the event, it's Kim Gyo-gak claims the KB Financial Star Championship title after finishing off with 12 under par overall, claim her third KLPGA major of the season. Not only that, with the victory, Kim also clinches the season's top money list in the KLPGA, despite a few more events left in the calendar. Meanwhile, despite finishing off in second place at 11 under par overall, Park In-bi is set to return to her #1 world ranking once again, as she hopes to hold on to that title for a longer period of time. And now moving over to Sunday's V-League action, some exciting finishes on the day. Starting off in the men's league, where the Hyundai Capital Skywalkers faced off against the Korean Air Jumbos in Cheonan. Now a back and forth match as Hyundai Capital took the first and third set, with Korean Air taking the second and fourth set, forcing a decisive fifth set. Now Hyundai Capital's Liberman Algamez puts up 36 points, but Korean Air's Michael Sanchez matches him with his 36 points as well. But Shin Young-soo helping him out with 15 points of his own as the Korean Air Jumbos take the final set 15-13 and a 3-2 victory. Now, meanwhile, over on the Women's League, the IBK Altos taking on the Hanbok Life Insurance Pink Spiders. IBK's Destiny Hooker puts up a game-high 29 points, but the Pink Spiders have 3 players on the team scoring in double digits, including Rachel Rourke's 19 points, as the Pink Spiders sweep IBK in 3 sets, 3-0. Now, some rivalries in sports are so big that there's actually a term used to name the matchup, like the Real Madrid and Barcelona match is called the El Clásico, and for KBO's Nexon Heroes and the LG Twins, their rivalry is called the El Nexico. And starting today, the two teams will square off in the second round of the KBO Playoff Series. Now, after the LG Twins eliminated the NC Dinos in 4 games in the first round, they're set to face off against their longtime rivals, the Nexon Heroes, in a best-of-7 series, with the winner facing off against the Samsung Lions in the Korean series. While the Nexon Heroes have a better regular season record, the Twins' offense have been on fire, as Woo Gyu-min is set to start for LG against Nexon's Henry Sosa in Game 1 set to take place later tonight at Mokdong Stadium. Now moving over to Japan this time, where Game 2 of the Japan series between the Hanshin Tigers and the SoftBank Hawks took place last night, with Oh Seung-hwan helping the Hanshin Tigers in Game 1 for a 1-0 series lead. But in Game 2, it's Lee Dae-ho who helps the SoftBank Hawks get a good start to the game as he launches a solo shot in the 4th inning of the game for a 2-0 lead, with the Hanshin Tigers holding on to win the game 2-1, or check that, SoftBank Hawks to win it 2-1. His home run was the difference maker, as the series is now tied at 1-1. And now very quickly finishing things off with the 7th International Sports Climbing Federation World Cup taking place in Japan over this past weekend. Korea's Kim Jae-in continues to dominate the sport, winning her 4th World Cup event of the season to maintain her #1 world ranking. So congratulations to her. And with that said, it's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
And still ahead in Korea today, 30% of Koreans say they go hike up the mountains at least once a month, and that number goes further up during this fall foliage season. Charles Usher from the U.S. went out to learn more about Koreans and their love for mountain hiking on #curiousinkorea, so don't go away.
All right, well, today we have a special segment where we trace Korean influence in another part of the world. And today we'll take you to Anhui province in China, located right in between Beijing and Shanghai.
And as you can see, we'll be looking at Anhui TV right now in Anhui province, and that's in China. Earlier this month, the Chinese station invited 13 networks across the world, including our station, Arirang TV, as a part of cultural exchange among broadcasting stations.
Right, and this year happens to be the 22nd anniversary of Korea-China diplomatic relations. And here in Seoul, a special exhibition on pandas being held along with various other cultural exhibitions and events to commemorate the ties between the two neighbors.
That's right. In fact, Korea and China's first cultural exchanges date back to 700 AD. It started when a prince of the Shilla kingdom went to China, and the location was Mount Jiuhua in Anhui province. A Korean prince was able to win the heart of Chinese people, and it still plays an important role in Korean Sino relations. We'll take a look.
Anhui province is a part of economic zone in East China. It's one of the most important cradles of China's prehistorical civilization. Especially Suzhou City in Anhui province attracts global attention. It's filled with scenic spots of Buddhism, especially here at Mountain Jiuhua. Every year, over 100 million tourists and Buddhists from around the world visit here. The reason behind its popularity is to see the vestige of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva.
I think there's a strong spiritual current at Mount Jiuhua. Here in China, Mount Jiuhua is considered sacred.
Chinese consider this place sacred, and at the very center of this belief, there is Korean monk Kim Gyo-gak. A 99-meter-long statue of Kim stands here and is worshipped.
Kim Gyo-gak was a prince of the Shilla dynasty. His mother was Queen Seongdeok. When he was 24 years old, he came to China and meditated for 75 years at Mount Jiuhua. And 3 years after his death, his body did not decay at all, and his face was similar to the face of Bodhisattva. Since then, he has been regarded as Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva.
In Buddhism, Ksitigarbha refers to a bodhisattva who prays to save souls in hell. After Buddha, there are Maitreya, Avalokiteshvara, Mahastama, Manjusris, Samantabhadra. Ksitigarbha is mainly revered in Korea and China. When Kim Gyo-gak was alive, he looked after local residents in Mountain Jiuhua and prayed like Ksitigarbha to save those in hell. Since 700 AD, Mountain Jiuhua has been considered one of the major sacred mountains dedicated to Ksitigarbha. When people visit here, the very first place they come to is Hwacheong Temple. It shares the stories of Kim Gyo-gak, why he had come here, and how he became revered as Ksitigarbha.
Hwacheong Temple is the first Buddhist temple built for Kim Gyo-gak, who came from Korea. He meditated in a small cave until one day, a village landlord saw him and he and others donated to build a temple for Kim.
Even in Korea, it's not common to see local residents building a temple for a monk. It's notable in Korean Chinese history that Chinese people established a temple for the Korean monk, Kim Gyo-gak. The reason behind such respect for Kim is that his practices were not limited to just himself. He shared his love with others. Tea and rice seeds that he brought from Korea helped the local community greatly.
Residents of Mount Guha have a custom of having 2 New Year's days. On the second New Year's Day, they hold ancestral rites filled with only vegetables, no meat. The reason for this is to worship Ksitigarbha. For local people here, Kim Gyo-gak is a major figure in their lives.
Starting with Hwacheong Temple, many shrines and temples dedicated to Ksitigarbha were built. Currently, there are nearly 100 of them in mountain Jiuhua. Then the Chinese emperor heard the stories of Kim Gyo-gak's goodwill and practices, and the emperor rewarded him.
This royal seal was given by the emperor of the Qing dynasty. The one right next to it was given by the emperor of the Tang dynasty. The fact that the emperors had given him these seals made out of jade or bronze shows how even the emperors highly value the work of the Ksitigarbha.
Kim Gyo-gak is considered an important person who played a significant role in solidarity between Korea and China. Since the 700 AD, cultural and personal exchanges between the two countries started with Buddhist culture, and they continue this day. Also, Anhui province and Gure of Korea's Jeollanam-do province has established an alliance, as they share many similarities in terms of Buddhist culture and sites. When Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Korea, he explained the importance of Buddhist monk Kim Gyo-gak. He even proposed to set the year of Chinese tourism in Korea in 2015 and the year of Korean tourism in China in 2016. This is an example of how Kim Gyo-gak had brought Korea and China closer. He's not just a historical figure, but still an important factor in the present, building bridges between the two countries.
When Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Korea this year, he even talked about Ksitigarbha Kim Gyo-gak as a respected figure among all Chinese. Buddhism was spread across Korea from China, but Korean Kim Gyo-gak came to China and spread Buddhism. He had contributed greatly in developing Chinese Buddhism. I hope that it would be a turning point for Korean-Sino relationship to develop in various fields together.
Kim Gyo-gak always put the people around him first and foremost. His good deeds back in the 700s continue to attract international attention to this day, beyond time and religion.
So Buddhism was introduced to Korea through China in the 4th and 5th century. After 1,600 years, it was localized to fit a more Korean sentiment. And in a way, it's quite unique how a Korean went to China in the 700s and built a Buddha shrine there.
That's right. And as our station was covering Ksitigarbha Kim Gyo-gak of Mount Jiuhua, the royal seals that he had received from the emperor was released for the first time to the press. And the seals were made of jade and bronze and had not been released to the public, and they were only given on a very special occasion. And even now, they're rarely open to the public.
So it was a really special occasion.
Now, that's right. The scholars in Korea and China are actively working hard to preserve what they can and researching Kim Gyo-gak because the story is much like a tale. Now, unfortunately, there's limited sources to conduct historical research as we speak, so they are on the continuous process of that with the limited sources. So Korean scholars, many are asking that they be more, in line with moving with more research into Kim Gyo-gak.
So we looked at the vestiges of Kim Gyo-gak building bridges between Korea and China. And tomorrow we'll take a closer look at Mount Jiuhua, where Kim practiced asceticism. It's one of 4 great Buddhist holy lands of China.
All right. Okay, we'll leave that there and take a look at some fun videos.
All right,
so stay tuned.
Change gears and pick it up a notch, right?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for Viral Feed. We're going to have a look at some of the hottest stories that have been making waves all across the web, especially here in Korea. Now, usually I save my Korean ads for the end of the Viral Feed segment, but today it's so awesome I couldn't put it off. I had to get to it immediately. Now, a telecoms company in Korea recently developed a cutting-edge new technology. What it does is it allows you to stream live video from your phone directly to your TV. So how did they decide to advertise this amazing breakthrough? Let's have a look. Now, can you guess what this situation is all about? Here is the latest mind-blowing high-altitude performance from Korea's top B-boys, the Gamblers Crew. Now, arriving in Singapore, the boys headed to one of the tallest hotels in the world. Once they get there, they start up their live LTE streaming service. And here is what they decided to broadcast. It is an incredible dance performance from the rooftop of a 226-meter tall hotel.
That has to be CG,
Look
Simon.
at this.
That's for real.
It's actually
for
real.
Wow.
That's really real. My jaw, I'm still having trouble bringing it back to my head from having watched that. Now, of course, it doesn't mean you have to do something that incredible to be able to stream it from your phone to your TV. But I do have to question the ad. How do you follow up, or how do you live up to something like that? Because, you know, if it's just me having dinner, I can't show that to my friends on TV after those guys did that. It's incredible.
Well, here's what you do. You tap dance on top of the antenna on top of the Eiffel Tower. That's how you do it.
I was going to just try here on the top of the building here of Arirang, but I'll give that a try as well. I mean, I'm scared of wearing high heels for many reasons, but mostly because of my fear of heights.
Well, first of all, why are you in high heels?
I wouldn't think I was sitting here talking to you right now if you were wearing high heels, Simon.
And now, again, I can't stress enough. That was done with top safety professionals. Please, please do not try that at home. And now that was our first story. Let's move on to our second. It's also a very good one. Let me ask you guys, are you fans of spicy foods? Many of us here in Korea are. Now, ramyeon just seems to be getting more and more popular. And as a result, there are all sorts of recipes that are popping up around the world. And one ambitious project aimed to find the best one of all. Let's take a look. Here's a recipe for ramen that makes use of the Korean love of spicy Chungcheong chilies. If you've tried these before, you'll know they're fiery. Now, already before they even get to the foods, you can see the reactions there. Here's how it's made.
First of all, put the most wanted noodles of the spicy ramen world in it. When the noodles are cooked, dry them. Drop the noodles to well-boiled down tteokbokki. Pour the hottest 볶음면 sauce. Grind the very best at hotness Chungcheong hot pepper sauce with olive oil.
With olive oil,
The burning
that's the
taste
secret,
of Korea, purdak tteokbokki, is ready to serve.
But
How's the flavor?
Cheese.
Oh, fire. You see the reactions from this panel of international ramen experts.
I'm not scared.
Yep,
They're terrified even before they begin. So what are the reactions like? They start off okay at first. They seem to be enjoying it, except for this guy.
They kick in.
Talking so big, but of course the heat creeps up on you after a while. And it gets to the point where it's almost unbearable. Look at these reactions.
They're angry now.
So, what are the reviews?
辛いけどなんかこう食べたくなる感じずっと집에 가서도 한번 생각이 난다 이런 맛?
They wouldn't be able to sell this in Australia, that's for sure.
Oh, talking so big. But the final vote is 4-2 in favor of this being a dish that they would recommend to their friends. However, despite that winning vote, do you think that maybe a little part of the panel's final decisions had to do with, I can't be the only one to have to suffer through this fiery dish. I'm going to put my friends through it as well.
That might be it, but you know, I think I'd like to bring that challenge to Jinju, who, as we would like to call the Kulsu of spicy food, the master of spiciness.
The resident spicy food master.
In no second. She'll finish it.
She doesn't need water. She doesn't need milk.
My mouth is already watering.
There it is. There it is.
I love that you guys have such a positive reaction to that video because watching it, I could feel a sweat breaking out on my back.
Oh, yeah.
Oof, looks pretty spicy.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on to our third and final story today. Now, sometimes here on Viral Feed, I look at videos of some amazing talents throughout the world, but the clips are a little bit too short to show them all to you, and that's a real shame. So today, here's a sampling of some of the many jaw droppers that we found in the past couple of weeks. Now take a look at this. It almost looks like these people have glue on their hands or they're just straight out wizards. Look at this card handling technique. Now, as it turns out, these are some top-notch dealers at Las Vegas casinos. And as you can see, they are on the top of their field. Look at that. Unbelievable talent here. I love how great they are at this simple thing that they do. Now, moving on, you've probably heard of parkour. It's a method of passing obstacles, mostly in urban environments, in the most efficient way possible, using nothing but human strength. And talking about not using any CGI, look at these guys. You know, when I was a boy growing up, only Jackie Chan could do this sort of thing.
Wow.
And now there are amateur enthusiasts across the world who are capable of this sort of thing. Again, by all means, don't try this at home. These guys are pretty well trained. Now have a look at this one. The handlebars in this video look like they belong on an ordinary bike. But what is it that makes this one so different? Have a look at the shadows, and it might give you a clue.
Tall.
Yeah, that's right. The bike was made by stacking one ordinary bike on top of another. So how does it work? As you can see here, it turns out you need a partner to hold you steady when you're getting on and off the bike.
Oh, it could fit two.
So if you've ever wondered what it feels like to ride a bike so high up, wonder no longer. This video, and a series of others actually, reveals what it's like to be on such a high bike.
So how do you get off? That is my question.
Again, you need your partner there to hold you. And I do, again, all these videos that just sort of prey on my fear of heights. Do you guys think you could actually do that?
Ride that?
Yeah,
going on bike
on the
ride.
bottom, maybe.
Or
And then going on bike rides along the Hanbok River these days, and I think I wouldn't mind trying.
Okay, so we're gonna put you to the challenge of having the hot, spicy ramyeon tteokbokki, and we're gonna put you to the challenge of riding that around Hangang.
All right,
Wait, Young,
bring
does
it
that mean you're
on.
gonna dance from a high
Bring it
place?
on.
Huh? Right, does that mean, Young, you're gonna dance from a very high place?
No,
Yes.
no,
The
way.
Swiss hotel in Singapore.
Yeah, okay.
By the way, you guys,
Challenge.
have any of you guys wondered why this even exists? Why would anyone ride on such a high bike?
Wow.
Any ideas? Well, actually, it turns out it's from the Victorian era when they had gas lights. And every morning they needed someone to go around and turn all the lights off. So they used this bike. And then a couple of biking enthusiasts found this out at libraries and they said, let's make it. And here's what happened. It's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's all the awesome I have for you this week. That's all for Viral Feed for this installation. Don't worry, I'll be back next week with more though. Ciao for now. I've been Simon O.
Hashtag Curious in Korea, where we answer some of the questions that foreigners or visitors may have about Korea or Korean culture. And today we have a special guest rejoining us. He's actually been on one of our interviews in the past.
Right. I'd like to usher in Charles Usher. I'm sure you get this a lot, but I wanted to try it.
Not too often, not too
often.
Okay.
So corny like that.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, good morning. Welcome to our program.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
All right, so you have been here for about 5 years. You moved from the States, and then we did have an interview with you. You wrote a book about traveling through all the nicest spots on the subway, right?
Yeah, a travel book about various Seoul neighborhoods.
So, what made you curious about, and this time you are out to find out about the hiking culture in Korea. Are you a hiker yourself?
No, I'm not at all. And that's part of what made me curious about it, is that it's, the culture is so pervasive here. You see so many people doing it, and it's not something that I'd experienced. So I wanted to know a little bit more.
So, do you not enjoy physical activities or?
No,
just likes riding the subway.
No, that's not the case at all.
Sorry.
No, I was actually a bit of a jock growing up, like playing baseball and football, and I go to the gym now. But I grew up in the Midwest where it's all flat, rolling hills. So hiking wasn't something I did, and even in the parts of the U.S. where you have mountains, the culture isn't as pervasive as it is here. So
yeah. It was
a great
different.
pastime in Korea.
It really is.
It's so hobbies.
It's accessible. I think that's one of the things. Even when I was living in Los Angeles, we'd have to ride about a good 30 miles to the canyons to go hiking, and it's nowhere near as beautiful and as difficult and as, I guess, extravagant and challenging. It's very different. There's a lot of alternating routes that you can have right here in Seoul, right?
Right. And you can just get off the subway and go.
All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at what Charles did and in his search for why Koreans love to hike so much right here on #CuriousAboutKorea.
Out of the 50 million people in Korea, a whopping 20 million go hiking in the mountains at least once a month. A popularity that can be gauged just by taking a look at Korean social networking service profiles, where almost everyone has at least one mountain selfie. To find out why it is that Koreans love hiking so much, last weekend I made a visit to Cheonggaesan Mountain, right here in Seoul.
It's the prime location.
How often do you go hiking?
한 2주에 한 번 정도. 일단 한국에서는 산이 많아서 접근하기가 되게 편리한 것 같아요. 저도 여기까지 오는데 30분이 채 안 걸렸기 때문에.
저희 집하고 가까우니까 1시간 안에 거리에 있으니까 저희도 찾는 거예요.
70% of the Korean peninsula is covered by mountains. In the greater metropolitan area of Seoul alone, there are 40, and 90% of them are accessible by subway. So, to paraphrase George Mallory, Koreans hike mountains because they're there.
Good point.
So many mountains.
The enormous numbers of hikers have established a mountaineering culture. And the first thing you notice is the fashion. Everyone's dressed like professional climbers.
And very colorful.
Like they're going to the Mount Everest.
Exactly. I will say it's overkill, to tell you the truth.
Well, it's dressing up for the occasion. Why not? It's part of the fun, I suppose.
Many Koreans dress in outdoor brands when they're not hiking as well. I asked why.
실생활에서도 더 자주 활용할 수도 있고 디자인도 예쁘고 그래서 입게 되는 것 같아요.
Korean people place a major emphasis on practicality and design.
But there
as
is
they
some
seek
major
out fashionable
functionality,
and
though.
practical clothes. The outdoor clothing industry is booming.
So I'm feeling a little bit underdressed compared to everybody here, so decided to pick up some kind of hat to blend in a little bit. And I think this one looks okay.
Looks good.
No, I'm all set to head up the mountain. Cheonggaesan Mountain rises just 618 meters above sea level, and its slopes aren't too steep, so it's popular among hikers of all ages. Let's go. As something of a beginner, I set Ongyobong Peak as my destination. Since at just 376 meters high, it's one of the easier courses. Mountains in Korea are crowded year-round, but they're especially popular in the autumn, when the leaves change color. The natural settings are often stunning. I could understand why people would visit again and again. Cheonggaesan Mountain, where I went, was gorgeous, but there are lots of other mountains in Korea that are particularly famous for their beautiful autumn foliage.
This is the Naejangsan Mountain and of course the Seoraksan.
So I think that I'm just about the only person on the mountain here today who's here by themselves. This realization hit me from the very start.
No, I sometimes go by myself.
How old are you?
I'm 7 years old.
7 years old, okay. What are you doing today?
I'm going to mountain because I want to go mountain with my mom and dad.
Is it fun?
Many of the hikers had come with their families.
Nowadays, people have very little time to spend with their families, so hiking is a good occasion for them to be together.
Cheongcheong Mountain is one of the most popular hiking destinations in Seoul. And as a result, the rest facilities are excellent, and I found lots of people using them to take a snack break.
What are you eating?
I'm eating some cucumber. Try some.
Oh, thanks. It's really good.
Cucumber is great for shaking thirst. Koreans often pack cucumbers when they go hiking.
Very light, and it's got some water in it, so it's really refreshing. Thanks.
Took it from a stranger.
Yeah, I had never seen cucumber eaten as a trail food before. And now, as you can see, almost at my destination.
We made it. Oh, take a look at that.
So that's Gwacheon over there, just outside of Seoul. And the hike up wasn't hard work, but the view,
wow. The view's really good from up here. You can see long, long ways, and it's a really kind of rewarding feeling after that long hike up. It definitely made everything worth it.
One of the reasons I think Koreans love to climb mountains is the sense of accomplishment that they get at the top, which is probably why everybody was taking pictures.
정상에 올라오니까 기분은 좋아요.
There's a satisfaction that only those who have climbed mountains can know. Others just question what all the hard work is for.
Mountain climbing for Koreans doesn't end here. There's one more step that remains after the descent. It's time to eat. Koreans complement the exercise with food from fresh, natural ingredients like tofu, kimchi, and muk, acorn jelly. And it's all washed down with makgeolli, traditional Korean beverage.
등산하고 나면은 이제 땀도 흘리고 피곤한데 그때 이제 좀 허기지고 그럴 때 막걸리가 이제 허기를 좀 채워줄 수도 있고 또 막걸리 마시면 기분이 좋아져서 막걸리랑 파전 먹으러 가요.
뭐랄까 한국 사람의 비타민 뭐 이런 느낌?
When you finish hiking, this is what you eat. We got a pajeon and we've got some dubu kimchi, and I'm famished, so I'm ready to dig in.
These dishes help hikers recharge all the energy they've spent on the mountain.
It's hot, it's crispy, it's got a little bit of grease to it. It's a perfect post-hike meal.
I grew up thinking of hiking mostly as an opportunity for solitude, but for Koreans, the friendships that they share with fellow hikers on the mountainside and at the table are just as important.
If the city's got you worn down, or you just want to get out and get some fresh air and some exercise, head to one of the nearby mountains and spend the day hiking.
All right, so you went up a hike. It was one of the kinder courses, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't too tough.
All right, so and then how was the whole experience coming down and then having the makgeolli? It must have been refreshing.
Yeah, makgeolli is good pretty much any time. But after a hike up and down the mountain, you're thirsty and you want something kind of refreshing like that, so it's even better.
So you regularly drink makgeolli?
Yeah. Usually without the hiking.
So how did it feel after trying it out, hiking? Like you said, you didn't really enjoy hiking before.
It was fun. You know, it was a different experience for me, and you know, I think it's something that it's so kind of essential to being Korean. So it was a good chance to get out and experience that culture a little bit.
You weren't sweating that much.
No, it wasn't.
It was too easy for you.
Yeah,
it wasn't easy, but yeah, maybe I'll have to do something.
Time for a different course next time, right? But one of the things that are great about hiking in Korea is because of its 4 seasons. I mean, you get to see a different site each season.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people said that I wanted the best time of the year because of the fall foliage, but
nice.
You know, it's beautiful in summer too. You get flowers in spring and even the winter. If you can brave the cold, it's quite beautiful.
I think one of the greatest things about hiking in Korea too is that you get to feel the Chong, the affection that Koreans have for one another. They share food with strangers, like you got one cucumber from a stranger. So that kind of, you know, that sense of community and sharing is found a lot on the mountains.
Yeah, but, it's really a group activity.
Right, and for our foreign viewers who want to take part in hiking like yourself, do you have some information maybe you'd like to share?
A really good place to start is just to go to the Korea Tourism Organization website. There's a lot of information there. There's plenty of other information online too.
So Charles, are you planning to go on hiking next time again?
I might, but if I do it next time, I'll probably
bring a friend
Korean style, and go with the group. It's an excuse to get more food afterwards.
That kind of defeats the purpose in a way. After you binge
I
eating.
understand exactly what you're talking about, right?
But that's the
something to look
beauty
forward
of it,
to.
right?
Motivation.
It's funny, I didn't lose 1 kilogram when I was hiking for about a year or so with my dad. We just ate too much on the way down.
More calories than you lost.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Charles, for joining us.
Yeah, happy.
All right, well, this is where we say goodbye on this Monday morning.
All right, get your Monday started off right, and we'll see you right back here on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m.
And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.